Hello, everybody. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the architecture of secrecy and the loopholes cloaked in the Epstein network. I am working on getting information on loopholes that's not associated to the Epstein network, like loopholes through federal law enforcement, local law enforcement, um, things with ICE, just a whole bunch of different loopholes that's used throughout different police departments, as well as loopholes used in courtrooms, because sometimes they do vary. Like the police can use certain loopholes to get information, and then the judges and stuff can use different loopholes to let people off, or it's a whole process. But this one is related towards the Epstein network loopholes. The unsealing of the Epstein files has provided a harrowing look into how power, when combined with sophisticated understanding of legal and social loopholes, can create a cloaking device that renders horrific crimes invisible to the public and untouchable by the law. For decades, a network of predators and facilitators operated not in spite of the system, but through the system. By weaponizing legal instruments, exploiting jurisdictional boundaries, and leveraging social status, this network ensured that the victims remained silenced and the participants remained shielded. To understand how they stayed cloaked for so long, we must dissect the specific loopholes that functioned as their armor. 1. The Immunity for All Clause, the 2008 Non-Prosecution Agreement. Perhaps the most egregious legal loophole in modern history was the 2008 Non-Prosecution Agreement, the NPA, brokered in Florida. While it allowed a primary offender to serve a minimal sentence, its most dangerous feature was the immunity of co-conspirators, the blanket shield. The agreement included a clause that protected any potential co-conspirators from federal prosecution in the Southern District of Florida. This effectively shut down investigations into the broader network of recruiters and John Does. The CVRA violation. This deal was reached in secret without the consultation of the victims, a direct violation of the Crime Victim Rights Act. By keeping the victims in the dark, the justice system itself facilitated the cloak, preventing survivors from speaking up or challenging the leniency of the deal until it was already signed and sealed. 2. The weaponization of non-disclosure agreements. In the business world, NDAs are designed to protect trade secrets. In the Epstein network, they were repurposed to privatize the law. The contractual silencer. Victims and employees were often forced to sign NDAs as a condition of receiving any financial support or settlements. This turned a criminal act, such as trafficking and abuse, into a civil matter of confidentiality. The threat of litigation. These agreements created a reverse fear. Victims were often more afraid of being sued for breach of contract than they were of the abuser himself. This loophole allowed predators to use their wealth to hire high-priced lawyers who could use the court system to harass victims into silence. Reputational laundering. By settling out of court with strict NDAs, the predators ensured that their official public records remained clean, allowing them to continue their associations with politicians, royals, and business leaders without a stain of a public trial. 3. Jurisdictional dead zones and private borders. The network thrived by operating in liminal spaces, areas where law enforcement authority is fractured or limited. The dock as a front door. On the private island of Little St. James, the network utilized the loophole of private property rights to block investigators. Reports show that local law enforcement in the U.S. Virgin Islands were frequently turned away at the dock, with the island's private status acting as a wall that no one was willing to climb. International Megan law gaps. Before recent reforms, the trafficking of sex offenders across international borders was inconsistent. Predators could use private jets in international waters to move victims between jurisdictions, from New York to France to the Caribbean. Staying one step ahead of local police who lacked the resources or authority to investigate across oceans. 4. Sovereign and diplomatic social shields. For the most high-profile participants, the ultimate loophole was the social and diplomatic status, the royal delay. Figures like Prince Andrew benefited from a formal barrier of royal protection. While sovereign immunity technically only applies to a sitting monarch, the social immunity granted to a prince meant that law enforcement was hesitant to even request an interview, let alone an extradition. This diplomatic difference allowed participants to wait out the clock, hoping the public interest would fade before they had to answer for their actions. And the statute of limitations. This has historically been the greatest shield of time. Because many of the crimes occurred decades ago, predators relied on the fact that the clock had run out. It was only with the recent passage of revival laws like the Child Victims Act that survivors like Virginia Giuffre were finally able to bring civil suits that were previously timed out. 5. Financial complexity in shell companies. The money that fueled the ring was moved through a labyrinth of shell companies and offshore accounts, which acted as a financial cloak, hiding the trail. By using entities like Hyperion Air or various Southern Trust companies, the network could pay for private jets, mansions, and hush money without these expenses appearing on a personal bank statement. And the lack of oversight. Financial institutions often ignored red flags, suspicious cash withdrawals and transfers, because the individuals involved were high net worth clients. This VIP treatment allowed the funding of a human trafficking operation to be categorized as private wealth management. The Epstein files are a testament to the fact that when enough loopholes are stitched together, they create a shroud that can hide even the most horrific crimes. For years, these predators stayed cloaked because the laws valued confidentiality over transparency, property over people, and status over justice. The call to action for the judiciary and the public in 2026 is simple. Close the loopholes. We must end the misuse of NDAs in criminal cases, abolish statute of limitations for child sexual abuse, and ensure that no amount of wealth or sovereign status can block the path of an investigation. The cloak has been torn. It is now our responsibility to ensure that it can never be woven again.